Stocks are at an all-time high. That's an extra 10,000 more for me. All right, Finn, your turn. Move your car. Finn, what are you doing? I'm making an engine noise, for the car. Finn, there are no sound effects in Certified Public Accountant. Well, why don't we add some? I guarantee it'll be more fun. Here, you try. Actually, yeah, that is pretty fun. I told ya! In fact, I think I've got a fun way we can give you your 10,000 bucks too. And that would be money confetti! Memories. I'm Finn the Pony, and it's time for Finn Bits. So, Uncommon Bond, an episode where Starlight invites Sunburst over for a visit, but in doing so, realizes that they actually have less in common than she first thought. Will this episode and I form an everlasting bond? Let's find out. Well, it's about freaking time we got a proper Starlight and Sunburst episode. Considering the friendship between these two was built up as such a huge part of Starlight's character, and the fact that losing it was most of the reason she turned evil in the first place, I was waiting for an adventure that would flesh out the bond between these two. But sadly, most of Sunburst's appearances between seasons 5 and 7 have just been minor little snippets where he barely has any time to spend with his childhood friend. But at long last, our two good friends finally have a proper meetup. And I'm not gonna lie, it gives Flurry of Emotions a run for its money in terms of adorableness. Let's start with the character that desperately needed to be in the spotlight for once, Sunburst. Aside from seeing his reclusiveness and his love of reading and magic, we didn't really get to know much about Sunburst's personality despite how much he appeared. What are his likes, his dislikes, his unique little quirks?
I don't know.
But thanks to this episode, now we know about his love of ancient pony antiques, his interest in close-up magic, his dabbling in geological sciences, his enthusiasm to learn new skills, his tendency to geek out over tiny little things, which is... how did he put it?
It's adorable.
Yep, pretty much. I guess you can argue that he was being a little insensitive to Starlight, what with him spending pretty much all of his visit with Starlight's friends instead of her, and of course just blurting out lines like this when he's with her.
I probably have more in common with Twilight than any pony in Equestria.
But remember that in the same scene, he also says this.
I don't have much in common with most ponies.
While his actions seem kinda cruel on first glance, if you factor in just how much of a social outcast Sunburst likely is in his hometown, we can imagine just how excited he must be to finally find ponies with interests in common with his own. Just the joy on his face and in his voice all throughout the episode gives the impression that he's having the time of his life during this visit, and wants to let out all that excitement by telling it to someone, and I can totally relate. He's not trying to hurt Starlight's feelings, he's basically just a colt in a candy store, getting a taste of something he hasn't had in the longest time, so I'll definitely give him a pass, especially with the fantastic ending, which I'll get to later. In addition to seeing Sunburst again, we also get appearances from Starlight's other buddies like Maud and Trixie. It's not only a nice callback to previous episodes, but it's both a key ingredient when it comes to explaining the moral, which again we'll get to, and the ideal way to flesh out Sunburst's character. All throughout the episode, we get these adorable little montages of Sunburst bonding with another character, complete with really relaxing music and zero dialogue to speak of. This puts a lot of pressure on the animators to make these scenes stand out since they're the ones conveying all the emotion. And I can't deny that these sequences left a giant smile on my face each time. And with the varying locations and types of activities, they honestly never got old, which really surprised me. Just goes to show that you don't always need words to tell an adorable story. But absolutely none of these things compared to the last 7 minutes of this episode, complete with one of the best morals I've heard in MLP in a long time. I know I say that a lot, but I am dead serious. The ending and moral are phenomenal. Phenomenal! Essentially, Starlight is bummed out that her and Sunburst seem to have nothing in common nowadays. Yet when they were little, they were pretty much inseparable. This brings up the first part of the lesson. With time comes change. This was touched upon in Forever Philly with Rarity and Sweetie Belle, which if you saw my review of that episode, you'd know that I thought it didn't work incredibly well. But I think this moral actually fixes a lot of that episode's problems. First of all, despite Forever Philly's insistence that Rarity and Sweetie have spent so much time apart, they are still siblings that have grown up together and lived together. Rarity knows Sweetie Belle probably better than anyone she's ever met, and therefore the whole longing for nostalgia thing is justified but not incredibly strong. Plus they had to boop Rarity a few times with the stupid stick in order to get the plot to work. Here though, we have two childhood friends that have been apart well into adulthood, leaving plenty of space and time for their likes and interests to change. This makes the concept of longing for the past a lot stronger, and Starlight's way of thinking a lot more understandable, especially since she's not exactly the keenest when it comes to friendship anyway. Speaking of which, her instinct of just using magic to solve all her friendship problems comes up yet again when she designs a spell that... well... you know that saying, just like old times? Well, she literally makes it just like old times by making the castle look just like her childhood home and even reversing their ages to when they were kids. Yeah, the same kind of spell that took Trixie a powerful dark magic amulet to pull off can be thrown together by Starlight in an afternoon. Well, at least now we know why she's not into antiquing. She's probably more interesting than anything they have in those shops. They say the magic in this amulet is so powerful, it's capable of altering a pony's age. Been there, done that. But then comes the second half of the moral, where Sunburst goes back to Trixie and Maud and asks them what them and Starlight have in common. And the answer is... pretty much nothing. So how do they still remain friends if their interests don't link up? Simple. They just enjoy each other's company. They have a blast just spending time with one another, and it makes for an enjoyable experience even if the activity they do doesn't really interest one of them. Thank you! I cannot tell you how happy I am to finally see this moral in the show. A lot of people assume that friendship is built on the simple basis of having similar likes and dislikes, which definitely helps, but the base structure of a good friendship should not rely solely on common interests. Good friendship comes from two people who have fun doing things together, who enjoy talking together, who feel comfortable in each other's presence, and who would enjoy anything more if that other person was with them. As someone who loves his friends dearly, I have no shame in saying that there are certain things that my friends enjoy that I'm not a massive fan of. But that's okay because I just enjoy being around them as people no matter what we're doing. Heck, if you just look at the episodes Rock Solid Friendship and No Second Prances, the episodes where Starlight first meets Maud and Trixie, you'll notice that a majority of them just involve their respective pairs sitting and talking to each other, sharing their past experiences and their emotional feelings. Sure, they do stuff on occasion like fly kites, but that's not the focus. The focus is just Starlight warming up to the girl's personality and growing more comfortable around them. It doesn't matter what activity they're doing, just that Starlight enjoys doing it with them. And I'm so glad they brought this idea to the forefront in this episode. To those that say Starlight is a pointless addition to the cast need to watch more episodes like this. She allows the staff to come up with new and interesting friendship lessons that they can't exactly do with Twilight anymore, and I think that's a big deal. And then to top everything off, we get a final scene where everyone gets together and plays a life-size version of Dragon Pit, which is not only adorable, but shows that a little creative thinking can go a long way. Sunburst essentially takes a common interest that they both used to share, and not only gives it an update by scaling it up for their older selves, but also allows Starlight's other friends to contribute their own unique touches to it. It emphasizes the importance of finding a unique and new method of spending time together. You know, thinking outside of the box and finding a special middle ground that can have hints of nostalgia, but still provide a brand new experience for you two to enjoy. I can actually bring up one of my best friends in the world, my real-life brother, as an example of this. My brother is a thrill seeker at heart and really enjoys going on tons of intense amusement park rides. And I'm not gonna lie, those kinds of rides, roller coasters specifically, terrify me, so I tend to avoid them most of the time. Though I've always felt guilty that I was never able to experience those kinds of things alongside him because of how afraid I was. So what we wound up doing was finding the ideal middle ground: water parks. The thrills are exciting, but not too extreme. It includes an activity we both enjoyed doing since childhood, swimming, and going on the rides together not only gives us someone to talk to on the long lines, but also someone to high-five when we finally get off them. Going to water parks is some of the most fun I have with my brother, and it all came to be with a little creative thinking. And that's why I can really appreciate Sunburst's process here. A well thought out plan, my fine fellow. All things considered, I'd say that Uncommon Bond was one of the most spectacular episodes we've gotten all season. Sunburst got some much needed development, the two-tone moral was executed flawlessly, the pacing paired with the adorable interactions makes this infinitely rewatchable, and I can't stress enough how happy I am to see Starlight's character being put to such good use. To all those that have friends that like different things from you, hopefully this episode speaks as much to you as it did to me. And of course, to all my fellow shippers out there, I hope you enjoyed this 22 minutes of pure fandom fuel. Besides, who doesn't love Starburst? I know I do. Lemony. Well, I hope you all enjoyed my quick little playthrough of this episode, and feel free to tell me what you thought of this episode in the comments below. Did Starlight and Sunburst interactions put a massive smile on your face? Who else do you think would make an ideal friend for our favorite Sunset knockoff? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for playing along with me. I'm Finn the Pony, and I hope to see you all next time on Finbits.
Is this your card? Nope. Drab. Is this your card? Nope. I'll be right back.